So several weeks ago, I had Sonny Ariel on my show, and Sonny is the executive director of a upcoming series called Dimension 5 Television. And during our conversation, both off the air and on the air, she began to wax poetic, loving commentary about the gentleman who I just had to find out more about, who's joined us. First of all, just say hello to Keith Robinson, who's going to be joining us tonight. Keith, it's so great to have you, my friend.
Hello, thanks very much, Hal.
Let me give you folks a little taste of Keith. Keith is a master of the esoteric arts and holistic healing. His journey through life has equipped him with many divination tools for insight and understanding and healing, including astrology, tarot, and plant medicine, but he's best known globally for his powerful shamanic work. Keith was trained in traditional Amazonian shamanism, where he began seeking an answer to his one burning question: how can I best offer people insight into understanding the root cause of their suffering? And from that one question, Keith was given a vision of creating a process that he calls universal soul retrieval, and you may hear him refer to it tonight as USR. And I was so fascinated by Keith's work that I asked Keith last Wednesday or Thursday to do a session for me, and I know several other people are really intrigued by the work. Tell me, describe to me what shamanism really is for our listeners.
Well, thank you very much, Hal. Yes, I think the first thing I'd want to say about a shaman is that they have one particular qualification or quality, which is that they're walking with one foot in the third dimension, the practical material reality, and the other foot is very much in the other dimensions, the multidimensional universe, which we hear people talking about a great deal. And I find it a paradoxical and interesting thing in my own case, because I find that my ability to have my foot in the multidimensional universe is limited strictly to the work that I do. So I'm not someone that goes off and does lots of multidimensional joyrides. On the contrary, I'm very much grounded in the material, practical realms until I've got a request for some healing work. And then everything opens up for me, and I explore the most amazing realms of existence through working with people. So shamanism is something that's been known for a very long time. It's had a continuous global history of practice of 40,000 plus years now, so it's a very well established practice. And the ability
so
of
it's
shaman
the second oldest profession on the planet.
That's right, exactly. It's the earliest known, and it doesn't matter what culture or what religion the dominating influence is in that particular area, you will always find that there are shamanic roots. And the one I like to give as the most obvious example, when we think about Tibetans, we think about Buddhism, but if you go deeper, you'll discover that all their Buddhism is actually rooted in shamanism. That's just a well-known example of how these things work, yeah.
So when did you awaken to this gift that you had waiting inside to come out?
It's been a very long process, and it really kicked off for me, first of all, in Glastonbury Festival. It's a phenomenally worldwide, well-known festival in this part of the world, in Britain, held in Glastonbury itself. And that festival gets people from all over the world, musicians and other creative people coming along. And I went along to my very first one of those, and I saw my very first fire show, and I saw my very first sweat lodge. Took part in both, and within 6 weeks I actually put on my first fire show, and I put on my first sweat lodge for other people, because I was so moved by what the abilities of these particular ways of operating would, how they would affect people, which was to really transform them. So that got me moving. But it wasn't until my wife died of cancer in 2005 that I really got a big push. And the very night she died, I was in this dark tunnel. That's the way I would describe it, you know, knowing that that's what happened. She died that day. And I was just feeling what you feel when something like that happens in your life. And next thing I know, I got a phone call, and it's this very dear friend of mine, Amanda, and he said, "Do you want to do this shamanic practitioner's course? It starts in a month's time." Well, talk about catching a person at perfectly the right time, and that was it. The only answer I can give was, well, of course. So that set me on my road, and I studied traditional Peruvian shamanism based on Amazonian techniques for 2 years.
Tell me, is there a big distinction between different versions of shamanism?
This is absolutely the case, you see, because you could literally pull 10 shamans from all over the world and bring them in and talk to them, and you will discover that the way they work will be very different, but there's going to be some roots which are going to be identical. So one of the roots is inducing what we call a light trance state, which you can do through drumming or through breathing technique, and then it's a matter of using the intention to journey. And journeying is literally a form of guided active meditation, and that is what is going to take you on your way to meet whatever it is that you need to meet to help the person that you've just volunteered yourself to work for. So it's a process of surrendering, letting go. I'm working for this person, but the intention is very clear. I'm working for the healing, so whatever comes up is going to be the most appropriate thing for that person. Here was the shocker for me. Weekend one day when I do my very first journey, and I come back with all this information, which I've written down. I'm a very obedient student, and I think it's a load of rubbish, frankly. I just don't believe a word of it, and I can't see the relevance of this to anybody's health at all. So I then share with my partner what I've got. I've just done the journey for the partner, share the information, and I just watch their face. And the expressions on their faces, I just read through these few paragraphs of simple information. It's having a major effect on this person. I realise I've hit pay dirt, and I hit pay dirt immediately. So that is the blessing of the training I received. It was very, very effective.
So do you have to have the permission of the person that you're working with to go in on a high level to retrieve information?
I love that question. That's perhaps the most important question you're going to ask tonight from my perspective, Hal, because yes, in shamanism we have what we call shamanic ethics, and it is absolutely essential that you do obtain the permission. And there is an area where this can come up straight away if you think about potential for controversy, which is, okay, Mum really would like her daughter to have some healing, but daughter's not too sure, and Mum says, oh, I really want you to have this healing, and the daughter says, oh, all right then, and goes along with it. And what we find, if the person doesn't really give their permission from their heart, something very simple happens, which is it's blocked. And this is because it's a free choice universe, and at no point do we wish to interfere with anyone's free choice, which does include the choice to be ill and to continue to remain ill. So my abilities are very much determined by the quality of the clients I receive, and such praise and thanks to Sonny, because the people that she sent my way in the last few weeks, really amazing people.
Let's talk for a second about the definition, as you see it, of the soul. Can you give me a snapshot of, can you describe that aspect of us?
What I would say in a sense is that what a person's soul is the accumulation of all their experiences in, particularly we talk about human beings in physical bodies, then it's basically all the experiences that soul has encountered throughout all the different lifetimes. Then what we're talking about is all those experiences and all those responses to those experiences, and the ability to go through those experiences and either being wounded by them or being enlightened and uplifted by them. That really is what we're talking about. So it goes all the way back to your first incarnation in physical form, and in fact even further back to your existences in other dimensions as well. So it's that very unique part of you that you've been carrying all the way through everything you've ever done.
So is there then, Keith, this universal memory of what we've been and what we've done and what we've created and how we've harmed or how we've been harmed, that is an aspect of a higher part of us that we use to grow and to advance and elevate ourselves, or to stay stuck? That's
right, yes, it really is that. It's pretty much exactly what you said. I can't improve upon what you've just said. So when it comes to my work, what I'm really doing is I'm working with the soul of that client, and my concern is going to be the parts of that person's soul that have got lost along the way. And the best way to think of this is if you're involved in a road traffic accident. There you are, sitting all quietly and calmly in your vehicle. Perhaps you've got your music on, you've got your thoughts going, having a great time. Then the next thing you know, bang, you've got some kind of a road traffic accident, now you can so easily picture how that person's soul is literally going to be jarred by that experience. And the idea that we have in shamanism is there's going to be a packet of that person's energy is literally going to get knocked off their whole picture, and it will actually remain behind in that space and that place and that time until and unless someone does something about it. So in a sense you could say that all shamans are incredibly good housekeepers, and their job is to go around housekeeping on behalf of people by their own permission. Let's go and pick up the lost parts, shall we? It's really what we're doing.
I love that. I love that.
This is what it is. When you think about just, let's keep it simple, just a one lifetime, because in one lifetime there's going to be such a variety of experience, from the most transcendental, beautiful, illuminating ones to the ones which are literally hellish. And what my job is to do is to look at that whole gestalt of that huge range of what that person's gone through in that one life, and to pick up the ones which are crying out for attention. I guess my word really is triage. If you think of it from conventional medical science, that's what I'm doing. I'm triaging which are the ones which are clamouring to come back, which are the lost ones. Because my experience of human history, and I've studied human history to a certain extent, and the pictures I have, is that human history is so full of trauma. I think that's the best single word I can use, and I'm talking about people being impaled, executed. I could go on, the list is endless. Accidents, falling off cliffs, whatever it is, all these things that happen to people in their lives. Now, you can have enough of these things happening to you in one life to cause you problems. But what was personally the breakthrough to me was to realize that these incidents from other lives are actually having really big impacts on people in this present life. And I knew it partly from myself, my own experiences, but especially from my ex-wife who died, because there were certain things which she was suffering from, and it was so clearly nothing to do with this life. And as time went on, she did actually discover through her own journeys that a life, particularly as a Jewish woman in World War II, and another life, particularly in southern states of the United States of America as a black slave, these had influenced her in such an obvious way. So this is, I didn't understand at all at the time, and this is pretty much the story of my life, is things happen, Keith doesn't understand at all at the time, and then later on it all starts to make sense, and then he realizes why he had to go through whatever it is. That's really my story in a nutshell.
I love it. So in theory then, Keith, when we incarnate, we pick up, we're going to pick up that personality and that ego that we're going to kind of get formed a little bit around our making by the family and the social environment and the economic, all that stuff that gets pounded in with us. But there are these pieces that we bring in with us that are still connected to a higher part of our growth and our opportunity to transcend and overcome the fears that we've had, that lets us move through life and maybe invite that memory, which is our soul giving us a fragmented aspect that may be inviting the healing for us by taking us through a similar circumstance that we might experience again and again until we can find a way to invite it to be healed. Or can we do it ourselves?
Yes, everything you said, exactly, that's the way it works. And the answer is, can you do it yourselves? Well, this is such an interesting question for my own self, you see, because I was trained in traditional shamanism. I was then literally taken offline for a solid month. And in that month, I wasn't able to do any healing for anyone, and I just had this question rattling around in my head, which is, why? What's going on here? And then the other question is, will I ever be able to heal again? And after a solid month had gone by, I found myself with one of my good friends, and the suggestion was made. He said, let's do some work for my mum. We couldn't get her permission. We couldn't reach her. Let's do some work for my ex-wife. Couldn't get permission. Couldn't reach her. Let's do some work for me. Yeah, why not? All right. And from a why not all right came a brand new system of healing people, which is universal soul retrieval.